My deductive sermon is on the topic named by God. The text is Isaiah 43, 1-7. The focus is God specifically names every child of God, and what does that mean and how are we to respond? The function is to provoke the hearers to ask the questions, who does God say I am, and how will I live according to that title? The first point is that naming requires authority. God created and formed each person, and parents are given a unique authority to name another human being. Underneath this, the word Lord also implies a certain kind of authority. These are points out of verses 1 and verse 3. Under the title Lord, we can call somebody any name that we choose, we can pick a nickname, but the governing authority makes it official. There's a spiritual examine question where you're to ask God, who do you say I am? Also under the authority is the term Redeemer. This is taken from the Old Testament, kinsman redeemer. The second point is a name naturally implies identity. A name is a specific identifier. It's how we label one another. And we are usually named even before we have our identity is known. A name places a claim on you as an individual. In Isaiah 43, verse 1b and 6b, God says, you are mine. This is similar to taking someone else's name in marriage or even in an older system of giving someone your name as your protection. God also says, my sons and my daughters. Just as children are given their parents' surnames as an identifier, God names his children sons and daughters. A name implies a choice. God uses the words, you are precious and I love you in verse 4. The old practice of withholding a name until they were certain a child would survive implies that they were waiting to choose to invest themselves into that child. Also, the fact that we have the ability to change our name when we enter into adulthood. We can choose a different surname, we can choose a different first name. The third point is that a name implies a relationship, but not necessarily what kind of relationship. In verses 1, 2, and 5-6, there is an implication that God is protector, like a parent, but deeper. Never leaving, no matter how bad it gets. He endures, he stays with us. In verses 3 and 4, there's the implication that God's love is sacrificial, and that by naming us, he makes sacrifices for us. He's willing to endure. He's willing to stand beside and go through the pain with us or even in place of. Also, he's willing to give up other precious things for us. When we give a name, we're giving the implication that we are willing to give up something to have that person as a named member of our family. Also, there's an implication that having the name means that we are named as a companion of God. It's mostly one-sided, but there's still room for us to make a response. It looks like God planned ahead what he hopes to get out of the relationship. In verse 7, there's only one thing that he asks for, and that's that those who are named will bring him glory. So the fourth point is going back to that question, that spiritual examine question that says, God, who do you say I am? What is my God-given identity, and how am I expected to live according to that identity?